Hello, this is Chris Wenker. I'm a GIS epidemiologist at the New Mexico Department of Health. This is a training video for the IBIS community of practice. I will demonstrate how to use text editing software to minimize the file size of a GeoJSON map layer. So we've converted a shapefile to a GeoJSON with either ArcMap or QGIS or maybe even an online converter. As we saw in an earlier video, the resulting GeoJSON is really a lightweight text document that we can open in a text editing program. Here we're using Notepad++ to look at a raw GeoJSON export. Probably most people who work with IBIS coding are familiar with Notepad++. It's a free open source code editor. It's well documented and regularly updated. So why should we be concerned with the text of this GeoJSON? Well, the main point is that the file contains a lot of unnecessary whitespace. Depending on the tool or program you use to create the GeoJSON, it may also contain other characters like line breaks, like in this file. Meanwhile, this GeoJSON was exported from a different tool, and it actually has no line breaks. It's one long line. So let's turn off word wrap on this file. This format makes it easy for people to read, but Leaflet isn't going to use these text characters. Each of the whitespace characters is taking up file space, which makes it unnecessarily large. And larger file sizes can slow down web performance in Leaflet and IBIS. So we'll use Notepad++ to strip out the unneeded whitespace and line returns. This step does produce some good reductions in file size, so it's worth the time to find and replace as much as possible. However, we don't want to just delete all the spaces in the entire file. The reason is that some of the values in our title field are also going to contain spaces, which we want to preserve. So, with the replace tool, using normal search mode, we could just identify the regular occurrences of characters that are associated with spaces, like a colon preceding a space, and replace that with just a colon. Now this approach would take up a fair amount of time because we would need to identify all the possible combinations of characters. A different way to universally delete spaces is to use a regular expression. And this little snippet will remove all the white space that doesn't follow a letter or a period, both of which could theoretically be found in the title field, but not in the others. So we'll enter that expression and replace it with null, and we can start to examine the results. It seems to be finding the relevant spaces, but let's confirm it's not going to delete what we have in our title. And it looks like we're good. Let's replace all. Now let's look for line returns. We can activate this Show All Characters button, and we see that this file has LF returns, or line feeds. So now we know what code to search for. We can find them either in the regular expression or extended search, and the code we're looking for is the \n, and we're going to replace that with nothing, just an empty string. All right, looks like it's finding, so let's replace all. Let's save this file and look in Windows Explorer. Here's a screen cap of the original file size before we started the text edits. And here's the current file size. So we've saved a fair amount of space, and that'll help the file's web performance. There's one other detail we can look at. Notice that in this GeoJSON, the vertex coordinates are saved to just 5 decimal places. That's because this file was saved with QGIS, and during the export, we set the coordinate precision to 5. So compare that to this file, which was created in ArcMap using the Esri to Open tool there wasn't any way to limit the coordinates that we exported, so we ended up with 14 decimal places. And we'll get a similar result from other GeoJSON export tools as well. This many decimal places implies a sub-micron level of accuracy, which is really just spurious accuracy. And as we saw in the videos about polygon simplification, we can be satisfied with just 5 or 6 decimal places for these decimal degree coordinates. To trim off the excess digits from these coordinates, we can use another regular expression to search and replace. Now this tool is set up to retain just the first 2 decimal places. So let's switch that to 5. And we want to replace that with this null. And we need to be using a regular expression search. And we can see it is retaining the first 5. Let's replace all and save this file. Back to Windows Explorer, we can see that that file was originally over a meg, and we've saved a fair amount of space. And that's not including more that we could trim, because this file hasn't had the white space deleted yet. So we've simplified features, and the attribute tables are properly structured, and we've exported a GeoJSON, and we've minimized the file size by text editing. So now we've got a GeoJSON that's ready to launch in IBIS. A different series of instructional videos will discuss how to add map layers to Leaflet and configure their display. Also, look for a few other special topic videos about editing GeoJSON files in QGIS and how to create a label layer. We hope this introductory video about IBIS mapping has been instructive. Please check out the other videos in the IBIS Community of Practice YouTube channel.